What if the pain you're carrying right now, whether in your body, your mind, or even your heart, wasn't random at all? What if it was the echo of something you did in another lifetime? Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, once said, "Every thought, every action, every deed returns, sometimes in the body, sometimes in the mind, but always for the growth of the soul." Sounds intense, right? But here's the thing. Cayce wasn't just talking about karma in the abstract. In thousands of his psychic readings, he suggested that illnesses, hardships, and even accidents in this life could be traced back to choices made in past lives. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is too far out, stick with me. Because when you see how Cayce explained it, and how surprisingly close modern science might actually be to his ideas, you'll start to wonder, is my pain really random? Or is it part of a much bigger story my soul has been writing all along? In this video, we're going to explore Cayce's most fascinating and, honestly, controversial teachings on pain, past lives, and soul growth. And trust me, by the end, you'll never look at your struggles the same way again. The ancient idea of karma, when we hear the word karma, most of us probably picture some kind of cosmic scorekeeper. You do something bad, boom, you get payback. You do something good, life rewards you. But here's the twist. That's not really how ancient traditions described it. And it's definitely not how Edgar Cayce explained it in Hinduism and Buddhism. Karma is more like a spiritual law of cause and effect, stretched across lifetimes. Imagine it like planting seeds in a garden. Some seeds bloom quickly, while others take years or even lifetimes before they sprout. That's why, in these traditions, someone might be born into wealth, while another struggles with illness or poverty, not as punishment, but as the unfolding of seeds planted long ago. Cayce took this concept and gave it a uniquely Western spin. He suggested that pain, whether it's physical suffering, emotional heartbreak, or even mental illness, wasn't a divine punishment at all. Instead, it was more like a classroom. The soul signs up for lessons, sometimes hard lessons, in order to grow stronger and wiser. Think of it like this. When you lift weights, it hurts. Your muscles ache. But that pain is literally what makes you stronger. Cayce believed the soul worked in a similar way. The struggles we face are like spiritual weightlifting. And here's the kicker. Cayce went further than ancient Eastern traditions. By connecting specific struggles to specific past life actions. That means if you're dealing with chronic pain or constant heartbreak, or even repeating patterns in relationships, it might not be random. According to him, your soul chose this exact challenge before you were even born, as a way to balance out choices from another lifetime. Now, before we get too deep into the philosophy, let's get practical. What did Cayce actually say in his readings about pain and past lives? Cayce's readings on pain. In his more than 14,000 readings, Edgar Cayce didn't just talk about vague ideas. He often gave very specific reasons for why people were suffering in their current life. For example, one case involved a woman who came to him with crippling back pain. Doctors at the time had no answers. Cayce, in his trance state, explained that her pain wasn't caused by anything she did in this life. Instead, he said it traced back to a past incarnation where she had been an authority figure, someone who misused power and brought suffering to others. In this lifetime, her back pain was a way of carrying the weight of that imbalance until it could be resolved through compassion and service to Cayce. The body itself was like a living textbook. Every ache, every illness, every weakness could be read as a clue to the soul's journey. Another case that stands out is a man who suffered from chronic migraines. Cayce explained that, in a past life, this man had been a judge who literally gave others a headache with unfair rulings. The migraines, in Cayce's view, weren't random. They were an echo, a spiritual reminder for the soul to learn empathy and fairness. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Cayce didn't stop at diagnosis. He also gave remedies. Sometimes it was as simple as a change in diet, massage, or natural oils. But more often, the remedy wasn't physical, it was spiritual. He told people to practice forgiveness, to show kindness, to serve others. Because, according to him, until the underlying soul lesson was learned, the physical pain would keep showing up, no matter what pills or treatments you tried. And honestly, this flips our modern view on its head. Today, we're trained to treat. Symptoms: take a pill, get surgery, numb the pain. But Cayce believed that if you only treated the body without addressing the soul, the problem would just return in some other form. So if pain is connected to past life actions, how can we actually break the cycle? Breaking the cycle, can we rewrite karma? Here's where Cayce gets surprisingly hopeful. Because if you stop at the idea that pain is punishment for past lives, it sounds pretty harsh, right? Like we're doomed to suffer forever for mistakes we don't even remember. But Cayce painted a much more empowering picture. He believed that karma isn't punishment, it's education. Think of it like school. If you flunk math one year, you don't get sentenced to math again, you just repeat the class until you learn the material. Same with the soul. Pain isn't cosmic revenge. It's the universe saying, hey, you still need to work on this lesson. Cayce gave plenty of examples where people were able to transform their pain by changing their attitude, their choices, and especially by how they treated others. For instance, he said chronic illness could sometimes lift after someone made peace with a family member or began serving others with genuine compassion. It's almost like karma can be rewritten not by escaping it, but by fulfilling it. By choosing love where once there was hate. By forgiving where once there was resentment. By giving where once there was selfishness. And here's the fascinating part. Cayce often emphasized that even the smallest acts of kindness, the tiniest shift in consciousness, could start to dissolve old karmic patterns. You didn't need to be a saint. You just needed to take one step in the right direction. So, yes, according to Cayce, pain might come from past life actions. But it doesn't mean you're stuck with it forever. You can break the cycle, but wait, what happens when you don't? Learn the lesson when pain is ignored, numbed, or pushed aside. That takes us to the deeper, more mysterious part of Cayce's teachings. The hidden consequences of ignoring pains. So here's the unsettling part of Cayce's teachings. If we ignore pain, it doesn't just vanish, it compounds. Cayce warned that lessons unlearned in one lifetime don't disappear, they roll over. Like spiritual credit card debt. You can ignore the bill for a while, but interest keeps adding up. For example, Cayce once said, a person who abused power in a past life might be born in a life where they feel powerless until they learn humility and compassion. Or someone who caused others great suffering might face chronic illness or difficult relationships not as punishment, but as a mirror. A reminder. Cayce said even nations have karma. Whole groups of people can carry forward unresolved lessons, which might explain why certain regions of the world experience recurring cycles of conflict or hardship. That's Cayce's mind-blowing view. Karma isn't just personal, it's collective. And pain ignored doesn't just affect you. It ripples outward, touching families, societies, even civilizations. But here's where things get really mysterious and strangely hopeful. Cayce believed that one person choosing love, even in the middle of pain, could actually shift the karmic balance for many, almost like striking a tuning fork that helps the whole orchestra come back in tune. So the hidden consequence of ignoring pain is repetition, but the hidden power of facing it, transformation on a scale way bigger than ourselves. And that leads us right into the skate, and that leads us right into the climax. Cayce's most astonishing revelation about pain, karma, and the soul's ultimate purpose. Pain as the pathway to higher evolution. Here's the part that blew my mind. When I first read Cayce's words, he didn't see pain as the enemy. He saw it as a teacher of the highest order. Cayce explained that every soul's ultimate goal is to return to oneness with the divine, to become a co-creator with God. But here's the paradox. The soul can't evolve without contrast. Without shadows, there's no appreciation of light. Without hardship, compassion never fully blossoms. Pain, Cayce said, is like a chisel in the hands of a master sculptor, carving away ego, selfishness, and illusion until the true essence of the soul shines through. Take this analogy. Imagine you're a raw diamond, still covered in rock and imperfections. Life's struggles. They're the grinding wheel. Pain hurts, yes, but it also polishes. Without it, the brilliance of your spirit never comes forward. And Cayce went even further. He claimed that those who transform their pain into love actually accelerate their spiritual evolution. Instead of taking hundreds of lifetimes to work off karma, they could leap forward in a single lifetime by embracing forgiveness, compassion, and service even in the middle of suffering. Cayce flipped the whole idea of suffering on its head. Instead of punishment, it's opportunity. Instead of being trapped by the past, it's a chance to reshape the future. And in Cayce's most hopeful message, he said this: "For every soul, there is a way out. There is no such thing as a soul condemned forever. Pain is the signal. Love is the cure." That's the climax, the radical idea that pain is not the end of the story. It's the doorway to the soul's next level. Flipping the script on pain, so let's rewind for just a second. We started with a tough question. Is pain in this life a direct result of past life actions? According to Edgar Cayce, yes, many times it is, but not as punishment. Instead, it's more like a spiritual feedback system, a way for the soul to learn what can't be taught in any other way. We looked at ancient beliefs, real-life cases, and Cayce's own readings, and they all point to the same astonishing truth. Pain isn't random. It's meaningful. It isn't the end. It's a pathway, and most importantly, it's not permanent. Through love, forgiveness, and conscious choices, we can break free of even the heaviest karmic patterns. Now, here's the question for you. Do you think pain really comes from past life actions, or is it just part of the chaos of being human? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your perspective. If this episode made you see suffering in a whole new way, hit that like button. It helps more seekers find videos like this. And if you want to keep exploring Cayce's most mind-bending teachings, you might want to check out my next video. Soul Contracts: Did Cayce believe in pre-birth agreements? Until then, remember, your pain isn't punishment. It's a passage.